You're just gonna hold that there.
I want him in the shop, but I don't know where he can go.
Hey.
Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Ooh.
Oh my god!
Today we're going to be doing some skull candy icing. Oh. If you haven't already, go and check out our last baking video because we baked a batch of cookies. We did bats and ghosts. It was a very good video if I must say so myself, so go and give it a look. But whilst we were making those, we actually secretly made some skull ones, which I made with a cookie cutter I got from Hobbycraft. They're really simple, like obviously we just baked the cookies from scratch. Go and watch the video if you want to see how we did it. And it's a really fun idea for like kids or for actual like adult parties. Not adult parties, but you know what I mean. A lot of people said you won creativity.
Hey.
Because he made somehow a ghost into a pig.
That's a win for me.
So all of these we got from Hobbycraft. They're called Cake Star. This is what we use to make the actual skull faces, by the way. I got this from Hobbycraft.
And we got some bright glitter right nice as well.
That came from Morrison's. It's glitter icing. Yeah, look how massive these ones are, so we can probably go to town. Morrison's, it used to be really bad for like icing and baking stuff, but they've upped their game. So we've got hot pink, blue, white. They did a special cupcake frosting Halloween edition, which is spooky black and orange in one tube. So when you squeeze it, it comes out as black and orange, and it tastes like orange.
It tastes like chocolate orange.
I feel like the white will run out very quickly, so it's a good job I got a massive one of that. These are the little glitter writing icing I found.
Need before use.
Need.
Bloody hell. Which nozzle are you using?
The big
Oh, the big one.
But I've got an idea. Just in my little desktop here. A knife. I'm going to move the microphone there because I get paranoid about you not hearing us properly because of it being an echoey room. So I thought it would be cool if we discussed horror films. I'm a big film head anyway. I mean, I studied film for 5 years, so like I don't really bring out enough of that into my channel.
Who does a video of selling the kitchen floor?
Someone who has no space to film her whole life.
Hopefully when we move out we will have space.
It's the only reason I'm moving out.
Only reason.
Yeah. I thought it would be fun to kind of review films that we like in categories, so a bit like you would do at like an award ceremony. So like best storyline, best characters, best twist, best ending. And also you guys in the comments can kind of join in on the conversation and say what your own ones are and if you agree with us, if you disagree. I don't know, this just makes my little film study heart happy. So favorite horror movie monster?
I would probably say Pennywise. Pennywise is like so evil yet so charming in his own way, and he's quite lovable in a weird way. I think he's got a lot of character to him considering he's like just an evil spirit.
See, I've said this before and I will say it again. I didn't actually get into it until, what was it, a year and a bit ago, because Adam showed me the original. So it was just weird timing that he showed me the original and then it was like, oh my god, there's a new one coming out and they're going to remake it. I was saying how I think we had a conversation one night about films that have good character development in them, and you were like, oh, it does that really well because you like follow the storylines of the kids and then you grow attached to them and stuff. And I was like, that is something I need in my life. So anyway, long story short, watched that. Pennywise in that one, I mean, I don't like him as much because I didn't grow up with him, but I would say you prefer the original, I prefer the remake, right?
I wouldn't necessarily say I prefer the original.
See, now,
but I love both portrayals for different reasons. So.
Yeah. Well, I fell in love with the original because I liked the kids and then like the fact that you then watch them grow up. Like, I'm all down for a really long ass horror that like really makes you feel like part of the story because you bond well with the characters and stuff. And then when I saw the remake, I literally fell in love with Pennywise as like a monster, and I don't know, I just became like a little bit obsessed, and there was a lot of talk about people like almost fancying Pennywise. As soon as he was off screen, I was so excited to see him again.
Yeah.
And I never would say that about a monster because horror films are supposed to scare you. He was just more like intriguing. Like, I just loved the way, like, small little details they did with him, like
the way he moved and stuff like that.
Yeah, and like the dribbly like lips and stuff, and the creepy like Bog, what was it, Bog Eyes? And yes, I think I had a little bit of a crush on him, if I'm honest with you. Do you like my one? Oh, yours looks a little bit like Saw, Billy. I'm very intrigued by him. I like the idea of him representing fear as well. That's a really cool concept.
Yeah.
I'm so excited for part 2, purely to see new scenes with him in.
What's your least favourite horror character, monster?
Sometimes the ones that are a little bit crap are the best. It depends what's worse. Oh, I might try the
Oh yeah, good point.
the big frosting and see how that turns out.
Can I use it first, quick?
Oh, sure. Be my bloody guest. Speaking of your Billy, I just said his cookie looks like the guy out of Jigsaw. Can I show it? I think it's mainly because of the little swirls on the cheeky parts. Billy is probably my worst. I personally just find him hilarious. Like, if I was walking down the street and a little version of him was like coming towards me on a bike, wouldn't you laugh?
Like my jolly gentleman. He was just some happy guy that you met on the street. He looks like a salesman.
Although that doesn't necessarily mean that he's a bad character, because I don't find Pennywise scary. But he's my favourite character because he's hot. Mainly
because they're so like overly talked about, and I don't find them scary in the slightest. It's probably the Exorcist girl, the possessed girl from The Exorcist, and that's like I just try to explain this is because everyone goes on about it so much, and it's like iconic, and like I watch it and I just laugh. I'm just like, this is ridiculous.
Which is hilarious because she's one of the only horror monsters that I actually remember late at night when it's dark and I'm trying to walk across the room or something, and I just think of her in the corner like, Urgh! Actually no, she wouldn't make the noise, she'd be like, fuck me. Whereas if Pennywise is saying that, then I've just mushed this black and orange into one and now it looks disgusting. It just looks like grey. Grey water.
It's grey water. What the hell's grey water? It's basically piss and shit, so I'm just telling you.
Is that a fart?
That's my fart.
Jesus, I was gonna say that's the loudest fart I've ever heard you do. That's a lie. Right. Best horror movie plot.
I'll probably say Hereditary because... Jesus. You okay, hon?
Yeah.
Like for me, it was such an unexpectedly good horror movie for like how subtle it was. Like the whole theme of the movie, like you could potentially work it out.
Like an old man.
I guess you could kind of work it out, but completely threw me off, and I really enjoyed it. And I just thought it had a really good plot.
Wait, this is spoilers.
I haven't said any spoilers.
I'm about to say a spoiler.
Go on then.
You like cults. You like things like cults and stuff, don't you? You're into that kind of thing.
I'm into cult.
No? I just thought...
Well, as a theme.
A lot of people would see the ending of that film as a cult and be like, what? You can't just say, oh, the ending of this film, none of it is supposed to make sense because they're in a cult and cults don't make much sense. The end. Mine, I would say The Quiet Place because it was so different and I get very tired of the same old. Move into an old house, shit goes down, or like a doll turns up at my door. I can just imagine someone coming up with the idea of like the plot for that and then addressing it in the drawing room and everyone being like, yes. I really like the concept of a film with no sound the whole way through, and
very little sound.
I'm glad I didn't know about that because I probably would have felt really anxious going into the cinema knowing that I'm not going to be making noise throughout the entire 2 hours.
Yeah.
And he was sat next to a man with a leather jacket on, so he was creaking the whole way through. And it was also really cool to get like a deaf girl involved in a movie, which is probably very rare. She had a really cool opportunity to do that. And also it was one of those, I like plots that you can talk about afterwards. Like I remember being like to everyone like, oh, what would you have done? What did you think about that? It's really interesting how they probably got as far as they did as a family because of the fact that they had developed skill in communication without sound. And like everyone else had just basically like died because they don't have that skill and experience and stuff. Yeah. I look like I've just designed Aku Aku.
That's terrifying though.
This one's a little guy with his brains on show, and this is just a really scary looking Aku Aku meets Day of the Dead. This is like if Crash Bandicoot did a Halloween event. Best horror movie twist.
Best horror movie twist. I'd probably say The Cabin in the Woods because obviously there's a massive plot twist in that film. It kind of changes the entire movie. And it makes it, for me, I thought it was a lot more interesting.
But
Good,
it's
I think.
interesting they didn't use that plot twist as a selling point to get people to watch it.
I think part of the selling point was the plot twist, because
How would they have done that then if no one knew it was coming?
I think they did it on purpose. They called it The Cabin in the Woods, so it was like a generic title, and started it off looking like a generic film to have a higher impact on
Yeah,
the
but
plot
then no
twist.
one would watch it if it looked like a generic film.
Of course they would.
No, the selling point needs to be obvious when you walk to the cinema, because you know
No, well, it did quite well.
that's
didn't
too
it?
risky.
Now, because if you saw a new horror film that come out, it would still probably sell out in the first few days, and then people will spread word of mouth and say, "Oh my god, that
what?
plot twist! Just like you need to see it," and then that's when it catches on.
It's a risk. Maybe it was a risk. Maybe that's the answer to my dilemma here. It was a risk, they decided to take it, and then people like you was very surprised and ended up loving it more because they had low expectations. Mine was without a doubt, and if you haven't seen the film, keep watching, The Uninvited.
Oh.
Maybe possibly a little bit of a cheesy twist. I don't really care though, because my own personal experience of that film was phenomenal. Films that I like are ones where you watch it and you can't wait to show other people in.
Yeah.
When I get that feeling when I watch a film, I know I've just watched a good one. And as soon as I saw that twist at the end, I was like, I cannot wait to show people this, and then watch them enjoy the film, and then watch them realise that the whole time she was dead. Films like that are really good to watch again on your own anyway, if you don't have any friends, because you can like rewatch the parts that are really cleverly filmed with the intention of the twist at the end. So like you realise that she never touched her. It's a bit like Sixth Sense. He never touched him, or she never touched her, and there was never conversation between her and the other people in the family because she wasn't there the whole time. Like, what has been your most frustrating horror film? Horror films can typically be quite annoying to watch anyway, because you're kind of looking at it and you're like, oh, why did they do that?
Not that the film itself was annoying, but I found The Babadook to be really frustrating, because I felt as if it was I just felt I was waiting for something more. I expected something of it. I realised that the film is about like emotions and stuff, like deep down, and the monster itself is about grief. And
Yeah, he
that sort of
represents
stuff.
grief. A bit like It. He
Oh,
represents fear.
Yeah,
Thank you.
but I guess the fact that you never really see it, and like it turns out that it's not real in a way.
I get that you felt like that, like it does make sense. Like him as a monster, you do see him a little bit, but it's never like scary or intense.
So you see more shadows and stuff.
Yeah, I kind of like that because it leaves more room for the imagination, and I think that's a lot more powerful in horror films. A lot of the time they show too much of the monster and it's a bit cringy. I thought it was really clever. Like I love that idea of, in the end, she kind of just feeds him and looks after him, and like he's not gonna leave because he represents grief in their family because she lost her husband. They kind of just get on with their life with the Babadook because
Acceptance.
yeah, and they just treat him like normal now. Like at the end, the kid's like, how was he today? Like they discuss it like as you would mental health. I really like that idea of mixing horror with real life stuff. Army hearties. Now, one of the worst horror films I've ever seen, and it was very frustrating to watch, and what made it worse is that I watched it in the cinema and paid full price for it at like an Odeon cinema. I was well pumped about the idea of a film called Ouija coming out. A bit generic, but I was like, oh, it might be interesting. No. What's this like thing about looking through the planchette? I didn't like that.
Into the other dimension or whatever.
Yeah, it was a bit corny.
It's a snake.
It's a sizzling snake. It's just a snake. Every form of horror film stereotype into it as humanly possible. A load of teenagers coming together and doing a seance of some sort at night time, bumps in the night being because they have an old house, reflections, mirrors, a Ouija board, things going up in flames, and old women and stuff. Like I wouldn't even say to watch it because it's so bad. You know, sometimes it's entertaining.
Yeah.
It was just bad. Best horror movie ending.
I would say The Mist.
Yes. If you haven't seen The Mist, please watch it. It's literally, you've introduced me to like most of my favourite horrors, because that is definitely up top, and the music at the end I really love as well. I don't know, how do you describe it?
I can't remember the music.
It's probably like
Oh yeah.
so it sounds spiritual, and then something tragic happens. So the concept of it, literal like the mist kind of taking over the world, and they're stuck in a supermarket, and anyone that walks into the mist kind of just dies because there's monsters in the mist. I think actually you showed me it because we watched The Mist, and I was like, I love the character development in The Mist.
I was like, you want character development? I'll give you character development.
Yeah. And then I showed you The Breakfast Club because that has character development. Because The Mist is just them stuck in a supermarket and having to get along, and it's just watching human behaviour happen in a situation like that, and I love films like that. That's why I like The Breakfast Club. I don't have one that I can say is better than that because it's literally incredible.
So what's your favourite scene from a horror film?
That's probably the most difficult one.
I really like a scene in the Silent Hill movie. The girl runs back to where she came from when she entered Silent Hill, and she realises the bridge is cut off. That's kind of the point where shit starts to go downhill. You can just kind of see this thing in the background moving towards them, and it's like a kind of like a weird zombie monster thing, and it's almost got like in its body is like a sack of like acid or something, and then it like slowly walks over to them, and they could easily like outrun it, but they don't know what it is because they haven't encountered anything yet. And then she tries shooting it and nothing really happens, I think, and then it just like vomits acid all over her top. She's like, oh. But I find the whole scene really cool.
Sometimes less is more. Like sometimes things that are subtle make more of like an impression on you, which leads me to what I would say is my favourite scene. Going back to Hereditary, it's a really random scene, and I've only seen it recently, so maybe I'm only picking this now because it's
still fresh in your head.
Yeah. In most horror films, like we were talking about earlier, they're very frustrating because actors don't act in the same way as you would in real life, and it's really annoying most of the time because like something happens and they do something really stupid and you think, hold on, I wouldn't have done that. Not many other people would have done that, blah, blah, blah. But there was a scene in Hereditary, I mean, massive spoilers are coming now, so if you haven't bothered skipping, you probably should. The main character's brother is driving her to the hospital because she's having like an allergic reaction, and so she sticks her head out the window of the car, and he's driving so fast, and they goes past a post, and the post just whacks her over the head, and her head just rolls off into the road. And what makes it even more amazing is that on the way to where they were originally going, like where they just came from, the camera actually like focused on that post as if like that whole process was supposed to happen. It was like something that was destined. It was like fate, because I remember the camera like focusing on that post for a long time, and I was like, why? And then later on when that happened, I was like, oh, so this is all part of the plan. The reason why I picked that isn't because of that, but it was because of the way they decided to make the character react in that situation, because that's exactly how I respond in really tense. I mean, I've never beheaded my sister, thank God. If something really tragic happened, yeah, I freeze. And obviously he's in a car with her, so he kind of can't do anything. He knows what's happened. It's just a really tense scene of him, in a way, acting ignorant to it, and choosing not to look at what he's just done, because that's a very human thing. You don't really want to like face your mistakes. That's a pretty big mistake. He probably feels like if he looks, then it's actually happened.
Yeah.
And that's the way I kind of see things as well. So I could hear like all the thoughts running through his mind and stuff, and we never saw her either, which made it even more tense. We knew she'd just been beheaded in the back of his car, but because he's not looking, we also don't know what's back there, so you never really know. And then he just like never sees her and just leaves the car and goes to bed and goes to sleep, and then we're kind of thinking with him like he probably wants to wake up tomorrow and just hope that didn't happen. You could just sense that about him. I just thought it was amazing, because usually like a horror film that would happen and he would turn around, see her, scream, cry, probably crash the car, and he'd end up dead. Here's my Pennywise. What did we think? He doesn't look like Pennywise, but he looks like a clown. Do you like his drivelly lip?
He does look a little bit like Pennywise.
Hey Georgie. Best cinematography.
I'd probably say It Follows, because that was a very kind of moody, atmospheric kind of film. It wasn't a typical kind of horror. It wasn't really, I don't think there was really jump scares in that film. It was more just this constant dread of like, you know something's there and it's like, it is coming to get you, but you don't know where it is because you can't see it. But it's that constant underlying fear of something's always there. Yeah, like the music is very different from a horror film. And like the camera shots and stuff like that. I thought it was really cool, like different, like quite fresh.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah, it's filmed in like a really swooping way. Like all the scenes kind of like
pan shots and stuff.
Yeah, I really like that. I like that. I remember now. Well, mine will have to be the good old Insidious. directed by James Wan. But I really like his sort of method of everything. He does a lot of like panning shots, and I don't know, his films are super eerie, especially Insidious, the Insidious series. Yeah, when they go into different dimension and everything's kind of like foggy and sort of stuck in time, and everyone's kind of like pulling strange faces and stuff because they're sort of like stuck in time, and it's, I don't know, I like the way that was shot. Oh,
it's a bit weirder than what I thought it would, but what would you say is your scariest scene from a horror film, or biggest jump scare or something like that?
Still with Insidious, but I'm always hiding my face, like it's just something I automatically do. That means that I'm always prepared for a jump scare, so the only one that's ever got me is in Insidious when they're just having like a chill conversation, and then the red demon thing just appears behind him, and it's so unexpected. I wasn't covering my face or anything, so I actually shat my pants. I did a presentation at college on horror films, and I finished the my presentation with that scene, and everyone like hated me for it for like a year. It was great.
Oh, you scared them with it?
Yeah, because they were like listening in, like, okay. And it was like, and everyone was like, hurrah!
The scene in The Grudge when someone goes into the loft because they hear all these weird noises coming from the bedroom. There's this like kind of cupboard on the wall, and then the noise is coming from in there, so they're like, what's going on here? So they open the cupboard, go in, and it's actually like a hatch to the loft. All he's got is a little lighter, I think, and he pops his head up in the dark loft, puts his lighter on, looks around. Obviously, you can't really see much with a lighter. Looks one way, turns around, looks back, and all of a sudden the Grudge's face is just there, like really big. She's like, I mean, we were all tense anyway because you could hear this, like, in the background, you could just hear that.
Yeah.
I went to the cinema with my mum to watch that, and we both came out like, whoa, that was scary as shit. I feel like that's the kind of film where if you watch it at the cinema, it's so much more scary than it is when you watch it at home. I think most horrors are like that.
Yeah, for sure. That's
like,
why I must see horrors in the cinema.
You need that kind of environment. You need the darkness and the big screen in the big room, and like
and
the surround sound and stuff.
You can feel other people's fear in the room.
Yeah.
That really helps.
Yeah,
it's crazy to think that you saw The Grudge in the cinema, because I was way too young to watch The Grudge in the cinema. You must have been just old enough to watch it.
I think I was about 16ish, 17 maybe. You would have been about 11, 12.
I was 11. That's so funny. Last but not least then, the grand finale. Best overall horror movie goes to...
Mine? Probably The Grudge. Probably The Grudge. Mainly based on what I was just describing it as before, in terms of like, I feel that it was just a really scary film at the time. Not many good horror films that would actually scare you, and I feel as if that was a really nice balance. Yeah, I basically went in with my mum, watched it, and we both came out like terrified. And I've never really felt like that since. I always remember that as being like the last time I was really scared coming out of the cinema, and like it followed us home. Like I went home, talked to people about it, and I would almost tear up because I was like, you reliving the fear kind of in your head, and you're describing it. But like when I watched it, I had that feeling of like, if I turn the light off, it might be in the room sort of thing. That's the sort of thing I took with us. I love that movie for what it did to me.
I felt that about Paranormal Activity.
Did you?
Because I was told by bloody someone at school that it was genuine footage. And I did research about it, and it was still saying, yes, this is genuine footage, but I was just reading the plot of the film on all these websites. So I thought it was legit people telling me this, but they were just telling me what the storyline was. Like, this is like genuine footage.
The style of the movie.
Yeah, so I literally was like, this is incredible that they've caught such amazing stuff.
Oh, imagine. Like, we've never had anything on camera, like, of real value, and then all of a sudden they release a movie of all this.
That's exactly what I thought it was, because everyone was talking about it too. They were like, Paranormal Activity, you need to see it.
It was a massive thing when it came out.
So I went home like, oh my god, my world has changed. I was like, Mum, you need to watch it. It's groundbreaking research. And then someone said, Paranormal 2, they're making a Paranormal 2, and I was like, what do you mean they're making a Paranormal 2? How are they going to make a Paranormal 2? My all-time favourite has to be It, obviously.
Yay!
I just like the plot, I like the way it's shot, I like the monster, I like...
You talking about the new one
kids,
or just...
the remake.
The new one, yeah.
It's not scary, so maybe for scariness I'd say more so Insidious.
I think there's a few scenes that are a little bit unsettling, but not scary.
Yeah.
I think it's mainly because you care about the characters so much. Suddenly it becomes more emotionally tied to you.
The brain skull man who's in love. And then we have Pennywise here. He doesn't like Pennywise. Generic ass, dead skull.
And that's your last one.
And my pirate man.
Yarr! That's one of mine. I just realised how much he looks like Plankton.
Yeah, he does.
Kind of a Millhouse inspired character there. Jolly salesman slash dude who's just like doing his everyday life stuff. I made a robot as well. And last but certainly not least, a sort of Day of the Dead style skull.
You're so cute. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. If you liked this style of video, like us crafting whilst chit-chatting, then let me know. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already to be notified.
I like your position.
Every time I make a brand new video.
Do it.
Join me on social media such as Twitter, Facebook and Instagram to catch up on behind the scenes stuff. Bye!
Get spooked, bitches.